Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey Wise. Me, Jason, bringing you whiskey review number 10, which is on the Glenmorangie Tarlogan, which we have just to my left over here, which we're going to get started with. Now, this one is part of the Legends range, and I'll just show you that bottle box in just a second. But without further ado, let's pour ourselves a dram and get started with the review. Now, this one you definitely would have not seen unless you have been on active social media and probably following Glenmorangie quite very well. But the Glenmorangie Tarlogan is part of the Legends range. I'm actually going to show you the box over here. You probably see it just says Legends if autofocus works here. Legends, and then it says here there the Tarlogan Limited Edition. Now, a little bit of information on the Tarlogan. The Tarlogan is part of the Legends range. Now, the Legends are only for travel retail. What Glenmorangie decided to do is phase out their 12-year range, which is the Quintaruban, Nectar d'Or, and the La Santa. And they decided to start this new range, which is called the Legends range. And if you probably saw my first ever review, it was on the Tane, which is the second release in the Legends. This one being the third. So they're going to keep bringing out new expressions. I believe it's every 6 months, I think it is. There'll be a new expression. There should be one actually coming up in the next month or two. So do look out for that one. If you do use Twitter, by all means follow me. I'll put up a link to my Twitter handle down below in the description. So just click on that and you can follow me immediately on Twitter, and I'll tweet out as soon as I see there's going to be a new release, because I'm literally always following Glenmorangie because I love all their expressions. I pretty much bought every single bottle, which I'm a little bit guilty about because I spend quite a bit, but nonetheless I enjoy their whiskies. So let me get to the name of the Tarlogan. Now, how do they get to the Tarlogan? Now, they do have a lot of writing over here. I'm mainly going to read this paragraph just over here, which is called Glenmorangie Tarlogan. Honouring the fictitious king, said to be the namesake of the Tarlogie wood, Dr. Bill Lumsden, celebrated director of whiskey creation and distilling, set out to create a whiskey inspired by the ancient woodland that has safeguarded our precious water source since 1843. So then it goes on to tell you a little bit more about the aromas, but I'll get to that just after. And one thing I like is their tasting notes are literally how I find the whiskey, so fantastic. I love the people who do their tasting notes. Pretty much because that's why when I read those tasting notes, I can buy a bottle and not even have to taste it beforehand. Just buy like that, and I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. So getting onto my reviewing style like I do with my papers, the actual age for this whiskey doesn't have an age statement. The Tarlogan, all the Legends do not have age statements, unlike the 18, the original, the La Santa, the 12s range pretty much. These do not have an age statement with them, so you're not going to get the age statement whiskies. In terms of the ABV, this is actually bottled a little bit higher at 43% ABV, which is a little bit of a nice change up, not your classic 40% whiskey. In terms of the casks they use in this whiskey, it's actually the ex-bourbon cask, and then they transfer it into the virgin oak casks. So initially when I first saw that, I was like, where is that unique style from Glenmorangie using like a sherry cask or something that's not really seen so much? This one is a little bit of a change up. So ex-bourbon cask, which is a classic style of them, and then transferring it to virgin oak cask, which they actually used in the first release of the Legends, which was the Dutak, which was Pedro Jimenez and virgin oak. So nice to see the virgin oak returning back. In terms of the distillery, is the Glenmorangie Distillery. It is owned by Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. Big company, very, very powerful. And in terms of the region and origin, it is from the Highlands. So anyone and everyone who knows about Glenmorangie will know it's from the Highland region, from Scotland. The price I actually paid for this bottle, now this is the interesting thing. Normally you expect to pay around about £50. I paid £80, well $79.99 for this bottle, and it's purely, I'll show you why, this little bit over there which says limited edition. You're paying an extra £30 for limited edition. Wasn't too happy about that, have to admit that. But anyway, in terms of exclusivity, yes, it is exclusive only to travel retail, and you only find it at the airport. They said that as soon as it runs out, and the airport, the guy who told me that in Heathrow, he said as soon as it runs out, that's it. So it's a bit like the Donnock, if you guys ever saw that one. I've actually got that bottle at home, so I'll show you that one in an upcoming video. And in terms of caramel colouring, it's not specified on the bottle, so I'm not going to be able to exactly sell that one. So anyway, nonetheless, let's get into the colour of the whiskey. Now, in terms of the colour, I just reviewed the Aberfeldy 18, the prior video to this one, and the colour on this Glenmorangie Tarlogan it's a bit of a lighter gold. Compared to the previous video, this one is much more lighter in character. I'd say it's like a bright gold. Not really going to go towards the amber spectrum because it doesn't feel it's like that, but it's very light and a bit of a contrast to how the bottle looks with the darks. That's because there's a lot of it there. So anyway, let's get on to the nose now. And this is one thing I love, as I said before, the notes on the back here, as soon as I read them, if I like them, I buy the bottle. And with Glenmorangie, till today I've not found a bad bottle. So let's get on to the nose. So straight away you're picking out those vanilla notes, and this is something I love because it's like literally like you're digging into a dessert after dinner. Or even if you've not had your dinner and you want to go straight to dessert, this is it. You got vanilla, you got butterscotch, sort of mouth-filling without even having to taste the whiskey. It's like clotted cream. It's really, really thick in texture, just straight off the nose. It's like really, really good stuff. And this is sort of reminds me, if any of you have tried a Werther's Original, you get that sort of creamy texture when you're having that sweet. It's like toffees, and it's really, really just all round. It works, it's magic. This is one thing I find with this whiskey, it reminds me of a fantastic dessert. Again, an ever so little hint of spice, but it's very, very, very faint. It's just there in the background, just hiding away, but ever so distinctively just slightly present. But it is overpowered a lot by these sweeter notes with the butterscotch and the vanilla, which are very, very dominant in the primary part of this whiskey. And the tropical fruit again is like coconut. It's like sort of you take dried coconut, or as I say, dried shredded coconut. That's sort of the smell I'm picking out, not sort of the coconut juice. And I actually did read that off the back, but as soon as you read it and it clicks to your mind, it's like having that in sort of like a dessert, like a coconut cake. That's the first thing that I could actually think of. Instead of just thinking just the coconut cake. It's gorgeous. I love this nose of this whiskey. This is absolutely enjoyable for me. But main thing, we'll move on to the palate now. So, onto the palate. So straight away, onto the palate. Wow. Not as what you'd have thought initially on the taste. Not as sweet. This thing does pack a punch with a little bit of a spice. A bit of nutmeg over there. Definitely hints of cinnamon, making itself very distinctively known. It is quite thick in texture and in the spice sense, but the actual over texture of the actual whiskey is actually a medium. It's not heavy yet. The spice side, I'm just trying to figure out why, but because the nose is so gorgeous and just takes that away from it. But still, I'm getting that little bit of sweetness over there in the background. It's more of a honeyed note now, not so much of a butterscotch. A little bit of a toffee note, and the vanilla ever so consistent with a little hint of oakiness. So I'm going to have a second sip. Interesting enough, there's also a hint of maltiness, which is also there, just present. But still, I get a little bit of dryness, which works its way, but still the sweetness there does come back. But I'm just trying to figure out the spice over there, because it does have a little bit of a mouth-warming feeling, and that just reminds me of a little bit of a gingery note, because it is a little bit mouth-warming, and then you get the little spice, the cinnamon, which is a bit sweeter spice. So, all in all, I was a bit surprised by that spice dimension. I personally just like the whiskey, just like how it was off the nose. But overall, we'll assess the palate, and then we'll come to the overall review of the whiskey. Overall finish of this whiskey, I say it's got a medium body. It's not too full. It's not something that I can feel that's going to stay around for a very long period of time. You do get the vanilla. That maltiness there is there. It's making sort of your mouth water. You do pick up a little bit of sweetness, which is sort of staying around the palate, and it is making itself there. But the spice still very, very evident on the major part of the palate, and that sort of coconut notes that came in the beginning, it sort of faded away. That sort of just stayed there in the beginning half. Towards the end, it doesn't stay consistent. But overall, comments on the whiskey, I think it's not a bad whiskey. And overall, the actual sense of the nose, I absolutely loved it altogether. But in terms of the finish, and parts of the palate, it would just like, I didn't understand why the spice level was so much. But all in all, Glenmorangie, when they produce whiskies, it's something that I personally don't regret when I buy a bottle. However, all in all, I'm going to give it the rating now, and let me see which one. I'm actually going to give this one. Now, I haven't done a video on what I do my ratings on, but I'm going to give this one, I think it's, I hope I wrote it correctly, an 85. 85 is the border for me. That's on that question that if I have the money, I might go back and revisit it. With this one, actually, you know what, I'm going to switch it. I'm going to go with 84. The reason I'm going to go with 84, the price. For $79.99 for a limited edition, 50-50. I wouldn't personally want to pop it up for that much, especially for the flavor profile. The nose, absolutely loved it. If the whiskey stayed consistent off the nose, I would be more than happy to buy as many bottles of that whiskey. But it would be a one-off thing, or on occasion that I'd buy another bottle of this one, especially because limited edition, you're paying £80, £30 more than what they do ask for their whiskies. So not really swaying so much into buying many of those in the future. However, let me know what you think of the Glenmorangie. If you have tried the Tarlogan, or if you have tried any of the Legends range or any Glenmorangie, let me know in the comment section. And also, if you'd like me to review any of the Glenmorangies, I do have all of them in my house. Just let me know which one, except for the 25. I just don't have that one yet. But and the Pride. So do let me know if you'd like me to review any of the whiskies coming up. I'm going to stop fidgeting with that glass. By all means, but if you have enjoyed the video, drop it a like. By all means, please do feel free to subscribe as well if you have enjoyed the review, and look forward to seeing you guys for more video reviews, because I've got another one I'm going to do straight after this one, which is just over here in the bag. So this has been Whiskey Wise, and I'll catch you all for the next video.